Welcome back to the TWSN YouTube channel. We're continuing our trend of counting down the days to the NFL draft, going team by team, giving you a team-specific 7-round mock draft until the NFL draft is here. Today, we are on day 8, which leaves us with the Atlanta Falcons, one of the more solid teams in football. You know, they got a really good, interesting base. They won some games they really shouldn't have won last year. And we're just gonna, kind of try to get them to push over the top a little bit. They got some pieces. Kyle Pitts was hurt. Drake London's fantastic. Tyler Algier looked really good. And, they added Jesse Bates and some other key role players in free agency. Now let's kind of pick it up with the draft. Let's continue the hot offseason and just keep it going, keep it going. Atlanta's going to need a little bit more juice. I feel like they've done a lot to make this roster really solid, but now they need some people to help kind of take them over the top. And again, these are mock draft simulators, so we're going to play around with a few little different things. Like, for example, Jalen Carter is here at Jalen Carter is here, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be here in once draft night actually comes. So if he is, he would go here to Atlanta. I think it fits perfectly, but I'm going to act like he's not. Same thing for CJ Stroud, because those are a little unrealistic. We're going to play a little more realistic to give these Falcons fans a little bit more sense of realism of what could happen on draft night. And, I'm looking for some, like I said, some juice, some fun, some speed. And, I think that this could be seen as a little bit of a reach, but I think this player's definitely been coming up the draft boards a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta looks down the board and keeps a Georgia kid home, Nolan Smith. I mean, if he didn't get hurt, I think this range is where he would be projected anyway. And he's almost already climbing back into that range. Obviously went to Georgia, going to stay in the state there, and just gives him some explosiveness off the edge. Like I said, they've done a real good job of building a solid roster. He is one of the key pieces that can kind of help shoot them over the top and just do a little bit, provide a little bit more than they have in the past. Now, corner is a pretty big need for them as well. There's some solid guys down the board. I'm not going to force one here. There's still some interesting guys. Clark Phillips, Brents. I mean, all of these corners are pretty sweet. So we're not going to do anything too crazy there. I know they need some D-line help as well. Tuli Tuiopou is really fun as well. Siaki Ika, if they're really looking for a run stopper next to Grady Jarrett, could be kind of fun and makes a lot of sense. If we're being honest there too, but I'm kind of intrigued by some of these guys, but nobody's really jumping out at me. Trenton Simpson is a guy that seems like he could be a fun pick for the Falcons. Just a versatile. Let's do it. He's a versatile linebacker that can do a little bit of everything. You can move him around. You can have him do this. You can have him do that. Now, I know linebacker isn't necessarily the biggest need on this football team, but it's one of those players, again, that having that Swiss Army knife that can do everything. Those are the kind of people that can really push you over the top. And I think that's pretty good value there, Trent Simpson. You've already added 2 phenomenal athletes to your roster, which again is fantastic. Now we're really looking at CB and defensive line for these next few picks. I mean, Javon Dexter is pretty fun as well. It's pretty good value there. That's a tempting one. Corner. There's still some good value in the cornerback room. I know there's a chance a lot of these people kind of go off the board. I might go in the D-line room and take Javon Dexter. Just needed that value a little bit there. D-line is a little bit, not necessarily more of a need, but they have a good corner. Obviously, in AJ Terrell, they added Jesse Bates to the secondary. They still need some other corners, and I think we're probably going to end up double dipping in that room with these next 2 picks, especially with them being so close to one another. But for now, man, this is a phenomenal start to this draft, in my opinion, for the Falcons. Now let's go look at some of these corners, and immediately I'm gonna take Garrett Williams in the 4th. That's a steal. I think if he didn't get hurt, you could be arguing he'd be one of the, not necessarily one of the first few, but he'd definitely be in the higher argument instead of this 4th round. And then again, right after it, let's just take Eli Ricks. You're gonna double dip at the quarterback position. The guy didn't test phenomenally well, but his production is just kind of crazy. So again, we didn't necessarily hit on CB early, so we're going to double dip with 2 really solid prospects. Give them a little more depth there. give you some, help fill out the front end and the back end of that cornerback room. We know they have the stud already, so now we're gonna get in some depth guys behind them. Now there's some offensive linemen that can kind of make sense through this range too. I think Warren McClendon is a phenomenal pick if he's available. Let's go ahead and give him McClendon. I don't necessarily think he'll be there, but you never know with these offensive linemen. People have their preferences all the time. But he's a phenomenal right tackle prospect. He didn't necessarily move around. He's probably going to be a right tackle, but maybe he can give you some versatility there. But at the end of the day, he's a solid right tackle. I know they just need some depth. I think he's a starter caliber player in the NFL. And I could really argue that he was probably one of the best players available regardless of position there. So just a really good value. Now for our last two picks, back to back. What do we want to do? We've hit all the bigger needs. Let's see. I mean, there's some receivers maybe that can kind of be kind of fun for them. Matt Landers is one of those bigger body speedsters. Jalen Cropper is kind of fun too. He's a guy let's go Jalen Cropper. He's a receiver that did a lot for State. Fresno State's produced some receivers in the NFL. Nothing too crazy, but obviously they have the big one. But after that, he was just really solid, man. He played a lot of slot. He could kind of move around a little bit. He tested pretty well. Pretty under the radar. One of my favorite under the radar receivers throughout this draft cycle. Obviously, it doesn't help you go to the small school and everything. The production, the testing is all really, really solid. Now, last pick for the Atlanta Falcons. What do we want to do? You can argue a backup quarterback here if you really want to go that direction. I don't know if the Falcons will necessarily want to go that direction, but it wouldn't surprise me. Maybe not any of those guys specifically. Running back as well, if they wanted to take more of a pass catching running back, I think I could see that. Like Travis Dye makes a little bit of sense. Cameron Peoples is huge. Rodriguez is the best back here. Obviously, you can see by the rankings, but he's pretty much Tyler Algier. And let's take a look at redouble dipping in some of these positions. Interior offensive lineman could be an interesting one. Let's go Alex Forsyth here. I know the interior offensive line isn't necessarily a need, but he is a versatile offensive lineman that has played multiple positions throughout his college career. And I think that's we're drafting at 225 here. You're not necessarily drafting for surefire starters. Alex Forsyth is a guy that has a clear path to an NFL roster as a very versatile backup. And it's never hurts to have too many offensive linemen. Here's what we kind of did for the Falcons. We really wanted to add some juice and hit on some of these needs. These first three picks are just great athletes. Nolan Smith keeping the Georgia kid home. Trenton Simpson, another very versatile, fun, athletic defender. And then Javonte Dexter kind of paired with Grady Jarrett. And then you're going to fill out that cornerback room with two pretty underrated corners through this cycle just because the class is so top heavy again. And then three really good value picks here. Warren McClendon, one of the better right tackle prospects in the draft, in my opinion. Jalen Cropper, a solid receiver, and a very versatile offensive lineman. But yeah, that's kind of what we did for the Atlanta Falcons. They're a really interesting team. They can go a lot of directions. Maybe they keep their trend up of just building a solid team. They don't take risks. This one's a little more risk heavy, so we'll see what they do. But Falcons fans, make sure you let me know down below what you think of this draft. Who you would have took at 8. I know the Nolan Smith pick is going to be a little, indifferent to some, but it's just he didn't get hurt. This guy is phenomenal. I think his stock would be more appropriate here, and it's already rising to that way anyway. But if you want to, make sure you follow along on all TWSN social media so you do not miss out on your team-specific 7-round mock draft. We're going to be continuing our countdown each and every day here on the YouTube channel. So make sure you're following along and you do not want to miss anything.